I wanted to bring everyone on this call into the year 2022 of nutrition. I realize a lot of us have learned nutrition or have accepted a programming when it comes to what food is, how it works, how it's supposed to work, and how it works for you in multiple different forms. Typically comes from an influencer, maybe a personal trainer. All of us have had some kind of an awful situation with food at times, whether it's used as a coping mechanism or a weapon. If we pull back, zoom out, and we look at your caloric intake average over the week, that is the thing that matters, the only thing that matters. Yes, there's going to be a up and down of calories, and there's going to be an up and down of body weight. But the massive thing that matters, the thing that matters the most, is the overall average of calories over 7 days. So you can take, like some of us take, okay, I want to eat a little bit more on these days and a little bit less on these days, so I can, go out and enjoy dinner with dessert or whatever. Obviously, all this has to do with planning ahead and tracking food intake prior to. We need to focus on macros. Then we can do that. That's not a problem. But it is going to involve a level of difficulty that most of us, me included, don't really want in our lives. And what we've seen from meta-analysis and all the data that we have is that those are the two things that really matter. And from the people that are following macros versus people that are hitting calories consistently and protein consistently, the results are negligible at best.
I was just going to add to that and just say, like, earlier this week, I started freaking out a little because I'm like, oh my God, if he tells me I have to start tracking my carbs and my fats, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do it. I'm like, I can do the protein, like I can do it. I can do the calories. But if you add on more, like my mental load is so full that I feel like it would be too much. And so I was just very thankful for your approach to this.
Okay, when it comes down to meeting your protein target for the day versus the day calories, what is more important? Example, there's only 50 calories left and 30 grams of protein needed. Well, it's impossible to hit your protein at this point. So this is the time, definitely know your calories and try it again tomorrow. There's a lot of people that start out like, oh man, I went over my calories, or I got my protein. It was like, calories are king. Calories are the total intake, energy intake is calories. If calories are king, then protein is queen. We'll just start out with whoever is on a cut right now, and you're thinking like, oh my God, how am I going to do this? The simple structured way to do it, say if you're hitting 130 grams of protein, whatever your calories are, space those protein through the day, if you can. So if you could do like 400, no. You shouldn't be scared. What's a cut? You'd be eating less food than what you are now.
I'm hungry. I'm on like day 2 of the cut.
Yeah, Julie's on a cut. She's the one that's throwing out all those delicious recipes. So you can be on lower calories. You can still hit your protein. And when you are hitting your protein, you're doing it through the day. You're going to keep the satiety level up. You're going to be satiated through the day. You're not going to be hungry as much as you're going to look at numbers and be like, oh, I'm only eating so much food calorie wise, but I'm hitting my protein. You're going to be fine. About 2 days in, it's going to be the new normal. And then when we start bringing calories back up, once we get to the place where we see the evidence it's time to do that, then you're going to be fine.
Do you think it's a good strategy to work in intermittent fasting when you have such a cut, because it feels like you're eating more because it's a smaller window?
If it makes sense for you logistically, yes. Like this is where we come into what feels better for you, what works for you logistically, and like, are you the type of person that would rather eat 4 meals through the day? Would you rather have 2 large meals? What is your preference? Preference plays so much into this that we think that we need something, pretty heavily structured, but every one of us has a preference. Personally, for me, like I eat heavy protein through the day, so I can have that 500 calories or whatever at night just to eat whatever. So typically it's cereal, or lately freaking fudge. What else? Yeah. Or Nutella and chocolate. That's been like a go-to for me as well. But yeah, I like to front load my protein, get as much protein as I can. Usually if I'm hitting about 100 grams of protein at the 1,000 calorie mark, I'm feeling pretty good about life. Intermittent fasting, like that's all that is. That's just like the windows of time that you would like to eat or prefer. So does that make sense?
Mhm. Yeah. One thing I think that has been working for me, because I'm a chef by trade. So food is like always at the top of my head. I like to log my favorite meal first. That way I know I'm going to get that. And whatever else I'll just suffer through in the day, I guess is what it feels like.
Like you ration out. So if I know that we're gonna eat, say carne mare or something, and I for sure know that like spumoni is gonna happen, I'm gonna have the steak. Oh my God, like definitely gonna have that big dinner roll. I'll put that in there, and I'll typically have I don't know, maybe 300 to 500 calories before dinner if it's one of those days, and I'll definitely grab like a sparkling water and a dill pickle, for lunch, just so I don't, die. But that's just the nature of the beast. Like the people that are great at finances and budgeting are great with the calories and how they use them, how they space them out.
I can say that I'm terrible with budgeting, but money, but I'm okay with this. I'm better at this.
Maybe just in the fact that you can utilize the same concepts with your calories you do your cash, then you can start
Maybe I'll
being a
get
little
better.
better with your money.
God, my husband will be so thankful.
And we're like, oh my gosh, see, and this goes back to you always measure the investment, but you're never going to measure the distance that it takes you.
You should tell them about food pushers.
So there's always like a preemptive strike to food pushers. And if you know who your food pushers are, the best thing to do is have a conversation with them prior to the gathering, and get them on your side. So I like to use this from a visual perspective of, this isn't like the conversation can get pretty heated, but the first thing you want to do is like frame it to where they come around and you're shoulder to shoulder and you're discussing a problem and you make them a part of the solution. So the preemptive strike is a little bit different, meaning that this person's always going to be pushing food on you. So you say, hey, I've been really focusing on like me lately, and from all different perspective, focus on my fitness, definitely my like mental health, and my food plays a part like of both of those things. And I already know that I want to eat these things. I already know kind of what I'm going to eat when we get there. But some people may want to like feel like they should push food at me or whatever. And I just wanted to ask you to support me if that does happen. So I won't feel like I'm alone on this and I don't have any support or encouragement from my friends and family. What type of narcissist would you have to be talking to that wouldn't grant you the opportunity for them to support you? I can tell you that every time that I've had someone do this from a preemptive perspective, utilizing that strategy, that it works every time.
I kind of have not a food pusher, but a similar question. And I think you've posted about it before, so I might just need like a refresher. But I've personally run into the situation where since I've been doing this for like, 8 weeks now, our close friends and family have noticed like a change in my pattern or my behavior or my food choices. And one thing that I've kind of run into, and I never know how to like, I guess appropriately address, is when we've gone to places where there's like a lot of food, people will offer me food. They don't push me, but I've run into this point of like, oh, I'm so sorry you can't eat that. Oh, I'm so sorry you have to be here. Oh, I'm so sorry there's nothing you can eat. And my response has been, that's actually not true. I can choose to eat that. I'm actually choosing not to. It's not that I can't eat certain foods. It's just that I'm actively choosing to, like you said, I'm actively choosing to allocate my budget towards something else, right? So it's not that this food is bad for me or that I can't eat this food. It's that I'm choosing not to. But for me personally, it's been really hard because then I get hammered with a lot of questions of like, what are you doing? Which we all know in this group is individual specific, right? Like what I'm doing for me is not applicable to like the next person. So there's also really no need for me to go into detail about what I'm doing. It's not going to like help the person next to me. But my biggest challenge has been like going to those events and like dealing with those comments of like, oh, I'm sorry, there's nothing you can eat here, without like, I don't even know why this matters, but I don't know if anybody else has run into it. I've run into it. And then it's just this awkwardness of like, I'm fine. Maybe I ate before, like you plan ahead so you feel fine, but I don't understand the need of like why those comments get made or how to even navigate, because I know during the holidays it's only going to kind of ramp up.
What do you feel is the best response? Well, let me ask you this. What do you feel is the desired outcome from this conversation you're having with this person for you?
Honestly, I'm not sure. Like, I don't know if it's sometimes I think it's a hospitality thing where maybe they feel bad that maybe they think they're not being hospitable, or I'm not really sure. It's hard to explain because my husband and I both come from like huge Hispanic cultures. So food in itself is like very social, and you have your food pushers, and the rejection of like taking seconds is one thing, but also what you serve yourself is observed. Like saying it out loud sounds extremely toxic, but when they notice that you've skipped an item, it sometimes comes up as like, oh, you didn't eat that, or, and normally it's who cares what's on my plate? I'm not feeding it to you. But I'm not sure what the outcome is, other than I would assume that maybe they think they're not being a good host. And usually my response is, oh, it's not that I can't eat it. This doesn't fit, or it does. But it's been kind of weird that I didn't expect to run into those comments, to be honest, like about what people think you can and can't eat, and why it's a topic as soon as they find out that you're following certain targets.
Right. So it all comes down to the fact that our culture is inundated with a toxic diet culture, meaning that everyone knows someone that followed some type of ridiculously strict diet for so long they got sick, or something awful happened, or they just gained all the way back, kind of thing. And so everyone has this box of, okay, when we go through a diet, we're going to suffer. It's not going to matter. And you might as well just live life. Okay. How many times have we heard this? And what you're doing is much different than anything that they've heard of. So there's two things happening here. One is inquisition based on, like, what are you doing? Could be I could possibly be interested. And two is, yes, we in that situation where it's a cultural norm, then whenever you are saying I don't want to eat this or that there is an offense taken to that. So I think a couple things, like conversations like this are always chess, not checkers. But whenever you can, like, these conversations are going to happen. If
Mhm.
you can, again, this is the preemptive strike. So if you can utilize that preemptive strike strategy and get someone there like to support you and just like, hey, I'm doing this. One of the most powerful things that you can tell someone, especially from the perspective of, hey, I'm doing this for me, is like, how many empowerment posts do we see on a daily basis? How many times are people like just like rah, rah, rah for anyone to do anything ever in life? Like they're their champion, except when it comes to working out and eating healthy, right? Utilize that same enthusiasm those people have and harness that for a support for what you're doing. And that's going to change that conversation massively. And it's also going to change like the temperature of the room, right? It sounds like right now, whenever you're confronted with this, like there's an uneasiness, you feel like you're going to like hurt someone's feelings because you're not eating this thing. And two, you feel like they're personally attacked because that may even be their identity, right? It's like,
Yeah.
I'm known for making this. This is my famous whatever,
Yes.
kind of thing.
Yeah. And I'm not willing to budge on my target. So I'm like, I don't know what to do. I don't want to hurt your feelings. But like there's that self-care, right? Like you said, you put love into your food when you cook it. And I get it because I love to cook. But I guess, and I've tried to explain it as in like, I'm putting love into me right now. Like I love your food. And sometimes like I'll do a count, but it's always times when like we've said, you weren't expecting it. So you have to like know where your budget is, know where you're at. And I'm really good at like, no, but trying to explain it in a gentle way because I'm a numbers person. So I am that accounting person where I have my thing and I'm like, it says this, like, and they're just and that's just how I function. I'm like, this is the deficit, right? So like my brain's not going to switch just because of your like your casserole, but most people don't understand that. So
right. This is the most powerful thing that ever came up. I had a one-on-one client one time, and she was like, listen, like, I know like my family is going to be pushing food on me. I know I can, kind of sidetrack or whatever and be fine, but I just don't want to have these horrible conversations. And so we came up with this, and it was specifically from, like, we speak our own script, right? We're all following a script, whether we think we are or not. And it all came from our first conversation we ever had. And she specifically told me, like, I feel like I'm failing as a mother. I feel like I'm failing as a wife. I feel like I'm failing myself. I've never felt this bad in my life. And this is why I want to do this. Okay. So in this situation, if it gets to this like depth level, everyone loves the story. Everyone wants to be a part of a hero's journey. So if you get to this point where you say, you know what, a few months ago, I decided to stop feeling like a failure in my life as a mother, as a wife, and start showing up for myself 100%. So I can show up for my family at 100%. I can show up my job 100%. And I can actually show up for the people I love at 100%. Like there's a reason why I'm doing this. Yes, I love the benefits of it, but it's deeper than that. And I want you to know that because I want you to be able to know how to support me on this journey. And anytime that has ever been rolled out, you're going to instantly capture them because one, you gave them a story, two, you gave them a visual, and three, you just spoke to their soul. Do you feel like that's something that will work?
Yeah, I mean it's a way better delivery than like my accounting mind is. I'm usually like, this is the goal, this is where we're at, like hard no, and like that's just how I function. It works well for me in this program, does not translate very well when you're trying to communicate to like a stranger who has no idea what you're doing at all. They're just like, whoa.
Right. We're all not like analytical thinkers as well. Like there's always that freaking blowtorch method too, which I personally try to stay away from, but I resist the urge. But there are some times you can be like, why is it so damn important for me to eat whatever you want me to eat? Like I am not a toddler. Like chill, you know. Sometimes it just has to be, you know, time for Rocky to come out. But yeah, I think that's the most powerful thing you can ever do, really, is to involve someone as an anchor of support in your story, because everyone wants to be a part of a like a hero's journey, right? Does that all make sense? Do you feel like you've got some ammunition to come into the situations with?
Yes, that sounds like a much better, more gentle delivery that I can give than.
I think about the women that have come into High Performance Human and got the best results ever, and they all had this one thing in common: they were tenacious. Like they were tenacious, they were protective. Like they weren't just here for themselves; they were here to like further like the power level of their entire lives. Right? They wanted to show up like a lioness. Like they wanted to become this. Like we talk about two things. We talk about what I can become, I must. And two is like knowing exactly what you want. And I'll kind of lean out just a little bit here and say, like, I know we've talked about motivational, we talk about mental programming, and that is massively like the massive leverage that we have in High Performance Human. But we also believe in action. You know, we were talking about manifestation a couple weeks ago, maybe last week. And, you know, it's quite simple. Like you can try to manifest something, but you are not going to be able to will yourself into fitness or health or wealth, whatever. Like you're not going to be able to will it. You need to release yourself to pursue it and believe you can have it and you deserve it. But there's going to have to be action. And when I think about action, I think about like a zoo lion versus a wild lion. Like zoo lion just hanging out. They know food's on the way. They know food's coming. Whenever that gate swings open, they can pull it in there with the stakes or whatever. And they're throwing them at them and they're just going to accept it. And they're cool to look at. But whenever you have a wild lion, like a wild animal that is hungry, they are pursuing with 100% everything they have. Who you are right now should be a stark difference from who you were 2 months ago, 3 months ago, 4 months ago, whatever, right? You should be able to look back at that person and see like, wow, like I thought this way, I behaved this way. Now I see the changes. Now, like there is the micro behaviors have changed, my macro behaviors have changed, and I'm seeing the results not only in my body but in like my entire being, like everything I am, everything I'm attached to. Like I see like there's veracity on that.